Would I be the asshole for continuing to use our treadmill in the mornings after our neighbor said it bothered her? Our family rents a home in a suburb, and a single woman rents an apartment above our garage from the same landlord. 2 to 3 times a week, I run on the treadmill around 6 a.m. for 30 to 45 minutes. I have been doing this for the entirety of the 2 years this other tenant has lived above the garage. She never said a word about it until this past week when she asked if I would start running at a later hour. She was polite about it, and I can totally see her point because I am sure it is objectively annoying. Still, we have small kids who also get up early, and the only time I have during the week to run is if I can beat them before they're out of bed. This is why we bought the treadmill in the first place, because otherwise it was nearly impossible to find time to exercise without it. Frankly, I thought we had sort of an unspoken understanding because she has a dog that barks nonstop and often disruptively throughout the day while she's at work, and we are working from home, and I think there's a good chance a lot of families would have complained to the landlord about it. So my spouse and I sort of figured she appreciated how accepting we are of that, and perhaps as a consequence, never said anything about our exercise. Now I feel guilty about wanting to continue doing something I know is bothersome to her, but also I am not sure what society expects of me here. I think that, to some degree, if you choose to rent an apartment above the garage of a family home, you may have to accept that there could be noise coming from the rest of the home that you cannot control. But also, it's going to be hard for me to enjoy running at all now knowing she's on the other side of the wall feeling miserable. So, would I be the asshole if I keep running despite my neighbor's wishes?
Snapped earlier. I met this girl a few weeks ago and we hit it off, have been dating and hooking up, also just hanging out and doing couples things like errands together, etc. I've noticed though that she has issues taking accountability for things, and what's even worse is she finds ways to turn things around on me. Final straw was earlier. I was falling asleep and her hyperactive, poorly trained dog jumped on my back and cut me with its nails to the point of bleeding. She goes, "You got blood on my pillow," to which I'm like, "Yeah, from your dog." Then she goes, "But it's your blood, like what the fuck?" She proceeds to apologize, then gets me a band-aid. Meanwhile, the dog is licking me and I'm ignoring it, so she says she is taking it with her into the other room instead of cuddling with me because I'm being mean to it. For reference, I was just fucking laying there. I snapped at her and said I'm not doing a fucking thing, then she told me I was copping attitude, and that was enough for me. I got dressed and left her apartment and have ignored her calls since. I may never talk with her again. If I do, it will be only to see what she has to say, and if she doesn't realize what she did was wrong, I'll end it right then and there.
My boyfriend's mom called me Oriental. My boyfriend is white and so is his mother. For some reason they still don't know my ethnicity, even though I've mentioned it many times and corrected them every time. I'm half Thai and half Sri Lankan. His mother has called me Chinese before, and I corrected her. Now she just calls me Oriental BC. She says she doesn't wanna offend me by calling me Chinese or Japanese. I don't like being called that, and I've told my boyfriend many times to speak with her about it. He says he has, but that's just the way she is. We've been together for 5 years, and he's been talking about getting engaged in the future. But I got so tired of his mother's behavior that I told him I didn't want to be part of his family if she was going to keep being racist like this to me. He said I was overreacting, so I overreacted by dumping him, and now I'm single.
Am I overreacting? My dad Venmos me for everything. My parents both went to college, worked hard through their lives, helped my sister and I with college, and retired comfortably. They have been very cautious with money and have planned very carefully, have property held in trust to eventually pass down to my sister and myself. They own their house and a modest summer cabin outright, in total more than $1 million, and enough savings that, barring significant long-term memory care, they should not worry about outliving their savings. Yet my dad sends me Venmo requests for everything. If we split a vacation rental, he asked us to pay half, but then it gets to smaller items as well, and it gets beyond annoying. We're on a family plan, and he Venmos us for the correct amount each month, which can change if we change our plan for international travel, down to the penny. When he goes to Costco, he will get us things that are cheaper there, and then I always know we're going to get a Venmo request. Whenever we tell people that my parents bill us for the family plan, they laugh. Recently, I saw cereal I know he likes on sale at a grocery store, in which they don't carry at Costco, and asked him if he wanted to trade a few boxes for a cereal cheap there, and he said sure, and then Venmoed for the difference $6.6. Meanwhile, we live near a Trader Joe's, and sometimes we'll buy stuff for my parents when we're visiting. I've never sent him a Venmo request for, like, the 2 boxes of chocolate-covered almonds my mom always requests. When we go somewhere for the weekend, if we buy groceries for everyone, we don't nickel and dime each party for who ate how much. But when our car recently needed coolant and he was already at a store, he bought the coolant, Venmo requested me, and then, when I realized he bought the wrong kind, despite explicit instructions, he canceled the Venmo request. Love never said anything about this to him or my mom, although it is a constant joke with my wife, sister and brother-in-law. We're all doing fine. We can afford a few dollars here and there, although at times with kids. Sister's kids are 4 and 6. Ours are 1.5 a year, and childcare and mortgages and rent things can get a bit tight, and it's a bit off-putting when we get the Venmo requests as well. My dad knows when things are tight for us, but slack is never cut. Sometimes if I don't Venmo fast enough, I get a reminder. I would totally get it if they were insecure in their retirement and living paycheck to paycheck, but they are decidedly not. They are very open with their finances with us. I know quite clearly not just that they're doing fine, but how fine they are doing. And they're not generous. My mom especially will buy things for us and especially the grandkids, and has never sent a Venmo request, though she may not exactly know how. Am I overreacting? Does anyone else's parents do this?
Been married for 3 years, and after a month of traveling for work, I realized I like being alone. Let me preface this with the obvious. I love my wife very much and have no plans on leaving her. I just forgot how much I like being alone. I had to travel from state to state for the last month for work, and I was dreading it. I didn't want to be away from my wife and our pup for that long. It was rough, the first few days. I was so homesick. And was counting down the hours until I was back at home. 2 weeks in, I realized I kind of liked it. I was free to watch whatever I wanted, eat wherever and whenever I wanted, play video games or read my books. I've been back home for a few days now, and my week is full of activities. Meeting up with friends, visiting family, having birthdays and brunches we're going to. Also back to figuring out what we're doing at night. What's for dinner? What show or movie do we want to watch? Do we want to order takeout or go out? I'm glad I'm back home, but man, do I miss the simplicity of just being on my own.
Am I the asshole for thinking my white friend has no respect to Chinese culture because he deliberately mispronounced Chinese words? I, 25 male, come from a Chinese background, and I'll have a white friend, 27 male, who has a Chinese girlfriend, 24 female. He told me various times that he has no interest in learning Chinese, even though he has a Chinese girlfriend, which is fine in my opinion as long as he didn't insult Chinese culture. One day I was in the same room with him and his girlfriend. The girlfriend was FaceTiming with her mom, and they both speak Mandarin. Suddenly, my white friend repeats everything his girlfriend just said immediately after the girlfriend finished a Chinese sentence, but deliberately mispronounced it. This went on a few times until I asked him to stop doing that because I think, as a person who comes from a Chinese background, that's rude and a disrespect to Chinese culture. When I asked him to stop doing that, his response was, "I just want to learn Chinese. Why are you complaining? Why are you offended?" I responded that if he wants to learn Chinese, he would need to start learning it word by word and make sure the words are pronounced correctly one at a time, rather than pronouncing an entire Chinese sentence that contains multiple Chinese words that he doesn't even know and then call it a day. He responded that this is just not how he works. I got so upset that I didn't even prompt him further because I think he will continue to talk back at me to justify his actions just like what he did. I also got upset because his response made me felt unheard, and it seems to me that he'd done that as a mockery, especially when he didn't ask if he pronounced it correctly afterwards. The girlfriend doesn't seem to care, so maybe I shouldn't feel offended, especially given that he was doing it to his girlfriend and not to me. But I couldn't help it but feel offended and upset.
Am I the asshole for ordering a sub for pickup at 8:40 when they close at 9? I was on my way home and was near a Jimmy John's, so I placed a mobile order at 8:40. By the time I got there, parked, and picked up the order, it was 8:48. The worker who handed me my order was nice to me, but there was a worker in the back who was yelling at me saying I shouldn't be ordering food past 8:30 since they close at 9 p.m. I ordered the ham and cheese sub with a bag of chips on the side and a fountain drink. On the receipt they gave me, the order was completed at 8:44. Inside the restaurant, there was a guy sitting there eating at one of the tables, and he didn't leave until after me, so I wasn't the only one there. I immediately left after I grabbed my food and filled my drink, and it was 8:50. I wasn't even going to eat there. Should I not have ordered food? My thinking was that since they wouldn't have to cook anything or deliver and I was super close, it would be okay. But if I'm in the wrong, please let me know. I know in the food industry, people start doing dishes and putting things away, but for simple orders, is it an asshole move to order less than 30 minutes before close? I feel really bad and hope I didn't ruin the worker's day.
Would I be the asshole for refusing to rent my vacant apartment to my cousin at a 50% discount? I am currently facing a massive wave of guilt tripping from my extended family, and I need an objective reality check. I own a small, one-bedroom apartment that I lived in for about 4 years before saving up enough to move into a slightly larger place closer to my current tech job. Instead of selling the old property, I decided to keep it as an investment to help offset my current mortgage. It is located in a highly desirable area downtown, and according to the current local market, I could easily rent it out for about $1,800 a month. The plan was to do some basic cosmetic repairs this month and list it on the open market by June.
A week ago, my aunt found out that the place was sitting vacant. She immediately called me and started aggressively pitching my cousin as the perfect tenant. My cousin just graduated from college and is starting an entry-level job in the city, but his budget is completely non-existent. My aunt flat out asked if I would let him move in for $900 a month, which is exactly half of the actual market value. When I hesitated, she started going on about how family needs to stick together, how I am doing well financially so I can afford to be generous, and how this would give my cousin a massive head start in his career. I told her that I would need to think about it, but after running the math, I realized this would be a total financial disaster for me. I am still paying off my own mortgage, and losing $900 of potential income every single month means I would basically be subsidizing my cousin's lifestyle out of my own pocket. On top of that, everyone knows that renting to family is an absolute nightmare when it comes to boundaries. If he damages the floors or falls behind on his utility bills, I cannot exactly send a formal eviction notice without completely destroying the family dynamic at Thanksgiving. When I finally called my aunt back to politely decline and explain that I need to rent it at market rate to cover my own expenses, she lost her temper. She accused me of being a selfish, corporate-minded snob who values money over blood, and I feel like I am being backed into a corner. So, am I the asshole for treating my real estate like a business instead of a charity organization?
Am I the asshole for saying my partner is unattractive for suggesting rehoming our cat who is urinating inappropriately? For background information, about 10 years ago we used to pet sit a friend's cat who wasn't litter trained, and my partner always said the experience gave her trauma. When it was time to get her own cat, she was understandably hesitant. Fast forward, we now have 3 cats who she absolutely adores. The youngest, a 3-year-old male, ragdoll mix, was triggered by a male foster cat last June, and started exhibiting territorial marking behavior by peeing around the house. We quickly stopped fostering, after which he mostly stops, but still does it occasionally. For example, my parents came to visit and stayed with us in April, which could have made him stressed, but he only had 1 single accident that month. We are okay with his frequency, which is manageable. Something new triggered him in May, and we have been finding incidents every 1 to 3 days. It's a horrible situation for anyone involved. My partner and I talked last week and settled on an action plan by using elimination method to identify the trigger, and we agreed he needs to see a behavioralist after 1 to 2 weeks if it's not improving. I made it clear that I don't think rehoming an animal, a family member for me, due to toileting issues is responsible unless we have exhausted all recourses and are at our wits' end. Over the next 7 days he had 3 accidents on our dining table, and it pushed my partner over her limit. Today, she found a new spot on the dining table right before lunch. After the meal, she started talking about rehoming the cat as an option. I was visibly frustrated, so she asked why. I said while I acknowledge how she feels, I find it very unattractive at the very moment for jumping straight to rehoming, because it's a very selfish option, which should only be the last resort. For clarification, I love her and hated how I felt. That's why I was trying to stop the conversation. She was clearly hurt by my comment and walked away saying maybe we shouldn't talk about it anymore. Am I the asshole for what I said?
Am I overreacting or should I end my relationship? I, 23 female, have been with my boyfriend, 24 male, for about 2.5 years, and lived with him for roughly half that time. Living together had its ups and downs for us, so just prefacing this post to say we had already been having some issues. About 2 months ago now, I noticed on social media that he unblocked and followed a girl he had feelings for in high school. I met this girl once, and to sum it up, she gave mean girl vibes, so overall I just wasn't impressed with her. My boyfriend had her blocked when we started dating because he thought that's what I wanted. I just can't seem to let it go that he did this, and it makes me feel insecure and just betrayed. He knew how she was towards me, had previous feelings for her, and still did this. I don't know if they've been talking. He tries to reassure me by denying that, but I don't know at this point. It also hurts overall because I was helping him pay rent every month when the house is under his name, and I had other living options, free ones at that. A part of me feels like I'm overreacting because we had a situation similar to this with the roles reversed. I was still in contact with someone I had feelings for, but never went anywhere. It stayed as a friendship at the time. He found it in his heart to forgive me, and while I do appreciate that, I just feel like it's different circumstances now, given I moved in with him and helped him pay rent. I moved out about 2 weeks ago to see if the space between us could be beneficial. While I think it is, I can tell it's killing him on the inside. I want to do what I think is best for me, but I'm not even sure what that is at this point. I can't tell if I'm blowing things out of proportion or if I should consider letting things go.
Am I the asshole for asking for compensation? I have an internet friend that I have been corresponding with for about a decade. I currently live in the USA, she lived in Germany. In the past, if there had been any items, usually physical albums and vinyls, that she can't find in Germany, she'd ask if she could ship to me and I'd send them to her. Wasn't an issue because it was typically once a year or maybe every 2 years. Recently, the volume has gone up tremendously and I've had to receive, compile, and send at least 4 packages in the last year, each shipment costing over $100, so you can imagine the amount of stuff in there. She pays for the shipping cost, but alas. At present, there are about 10 albums I'm waiting for her go-ahead to send, but I can't because she's already ordered at least 5 more items. I recently asked for some form of compensation for my time and energy, and I feel like I'm being guilt-tripped. While she does always send her gratitude, she thought her sending me these things was fine because we're friends. I'm not unreasonable for thinking I'm being taken advantage of, right? I know friendship isn't all about equal give and take, but I feel like I'm giving a lot more here than I am benefiting. I really didn't mind doing it at the beginning because it was infrequent, but the sheer volume of things lately has been very overwhelming, even after I've expressed to her I'm moving soon and really need this loaded off my plate, but she just keeps ordering without double checking with me.
The only 2 days I requested off for my job I was scheduled for, and now I can't meet Bruno Mars or go to his concert. I work job A and job B. Job A is more consistent, where I get 2 to 4 days a week, and job B is less consistent, where I only get 1 to 2 days a week. But it's working a concert venue. This time it's Bruno Mars, so I get to meet him and will get paid a lot more than my scheduled shift at job A. I put in the request 2 weeks ago to not work job A when job B is scheduled as soon as I found out about scheduling for job B and before I got my shifts from job A. I said it was for another job as well. I finally got my shifts for job A, but I'm scheduled the day of both of his concerts, the second one being today. I'm only working 2 days at job A as well, and only for a total of about 12-13 hours. I'll make over triple this for 1 day of work at job B plus all the benefits. They told me last night after I called multiple times if I could have it off, as nobody had confirmed my request for weeks. They just responded and told me I needed to come. Feels almost malicious, as the only 2 days I get of work from job A are exactly the days I request off and there's zero workability. I just can't go. Simple as that. Makes me wish I called in sick instead.
Am I the asshole for not apologizing after my dog sort of barked at someone? My friend, we'll call Todd, and I were going down the elevator at our apartment complex to take my dog that I had on a leash out for a walk. Occasionally, my dog will bark once or twice in response to the noise the elevator door makes when it opens or closes. But he's been getting better at not doing so. He's a medium-large dog and has a fairly deep, loud bark. Todd and I were having a conversation as we reached the bottom, and the elevator door opened. My dog barked right as it was opening, and there was a guy standing there in front of the elevator, getting ready to step inside. My friend and I just continued our conversation. We stepped out, not really thinking much of it. Yeah, I guess the guy must have thought my dog had barked at him, and had to get into the elevator. He says a big dog bark jump scare. No apology for it. I was just fucking great. Jump scare seems dramatic since he did not seem surprised or startled at all by the dog bark.
Am I the asshole for using someone's unattended gym equipment? So I was at the gym and saw an empty weightlifting bench, which I dragged over to an arm machine so one could set it up like a rowing station. After I finished setting it up and started my reps, this man came up to me and said, "Excuse me, I was using that bench." I apologized and told him it was not being used when I grabbed it, so that's why I brought it over here. I turned back to continue my workout, and he yelled at me that he was only in the bathroom for 30 seconds and he needed it back. I told him that I wouldn't be long. I only had 2 more sets to do. At that point, he grabbed the bench out from under me. It's my understanding that no one owns anything in a public gym, and equipment left unattended can be used by anyone. Am I the asshole for wanting to finish my last 2 sets, or was he wrong for pulling it out from under me?
Am I the asshole for ruining my friend's student film? 3 years ago, I, 25 male, worked on my friend's 26 male student film. He wrote and directed it, and it was his thesis project. There were probably about 20 people worked on it all told. I edited the film and did all the sound design and Foley. At the time, we weren't super close, as we only became friends over the last couple years. But he had liked some of my work he had seen in class, and wanted me to be involved. During one of our editing sessions, I revealed to him that I had a crush on one of our classmates. He said we'd be good together and told me to shoot my shot. A few weeks later, we had a cohort party, and I pulled her aside to tell her how I felt. Unfortunately, she didn't feel the same way, but said we could still be friends. Less than a month later, the writer, director, and the girl I had a crush on start seeing each other, and have been dating ever since. At the time, I felt a bit betrayed and wanted to get back at him. I was having gastrointestinal problems, and somewhere along the line had the idea to record some audio of me passing gas and distort it to use in the film. His project was a horror film, and so using a distorted, reverberating soundscape fit the tone really well, and I thought it was a way to get back at him without anyone knowing. When I showed him the edited film, he was super excited and specifically asked about the sound effects. I told him it was animal sounds, which had been slowed down, but obviously it wasn't. The film went on to play at various festivals, and has had a pretty good run online. We have since worked together on other projects and have become closer. All the stuff with his current girlfriend is water under the bridge at this point. Anyways, last week, I jokingly revealed this backstory and the fact that his project is filled with a soundscape of my farts. He flipped out on me and said that that ruins the film and is super effed up. I thought it was kind of funny and no big deal, but he's not taking it lightly. Am I the asshole?
Am I the asshole for taking a job I know may stop me from going to my sister's graduation? So I'm a college student and I got a low-income scholarship that covered 2 years of school housing for me. For the last 2 years, I have to figure out housing for myself, and I decided to lease a room near school. I live almost 2 hours away from my college, and I have a difficult major, so that commute would not have been great for me. So I did some calculations and realized that even with my savings, I still have a bit of a gap for rent. So one applied for a summer counselor job, which will help me fill that last gap. The issue is the only camp that got back to me and accepted me is a camp that is far from my house, and it starts right before my sister's graduation ceremony from middle school. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get time off to make it to her graduation, and I'll feel so terrible because I know my sister will feel sad, and I know my dad will be pissed because he doesn't want me taking this job anyways because he feels like I'm trying to get away from the family too fast. If I don't make some type of money this summer, I'm at a serious risk of not being able to pay for my bills to stay near my school, which will certainly put my academic career in jeopardy. Is there something else I could have done? Am I a bad person for this decision?
Am I the asshole because I like to avoid spoilers for movies and games? I was talking to someone today, and they brought up a movie that is in theaters now. I already know this person doesn't watch a movie unless they read an entire wiki explaining the whole thing. So I mentioned that I'm looking forward to the movie and I'm actively avoiding spoilers. I don't make an extreme effort, but I don't watch full trailers anymore since they pretty much play all the plot points these days. I don't read wikis or ask people to explain the movies beforehand. Once we've all seen it, however, I'd love to have a conversation about it. They told me they wish they were as simple-minded as I am, and that they literally cannot watch a movie if they don't know where it's going. They said they'd like to use their brain and need more than pretty colors flashing rapidly. They need to know what to look for and if details are relevant or not. They pretty much called me stupid for not making an effort to know everything there is to know about a movie before watching it like they do. My take on it is that I like to catch all of that while I'm watching, and that it's more satisfying to figure out everything on your own instead of being told what's coming. I enjoy the surprises as well. I left the conversation and muted them because it began to get argumentative, and I was tired of defending the way I enjoy consuming media. Am I the asshole for avoiding spoilers?
Like and subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss out on my daily short-form videos.